Fight. Fight is your nervous system's decision that the only way through a threat is to confront it head on. Your heart rate spikes, your muscles tense, your jaw clenches, and your body floods with adrenaline, preparing you to attack or defend before you've even consciously decided to. In the moment of real danger, this response can save your life. The problem is, trauma doesn't always turn this switch back off. Someone who grew up in a volatile household might find themselves getting explosively angry at small disagreements decades later, not because the current moment deserves that reaction, but because their body is still bracing for the version of danger it learned as a child. Fight responses often get mistaken for a bad temper, when really they're a nervous system stuck on high alert, treating a raised voice or a slammed door like a genuine threat to survival. The anger isn't the problem, it's the alarm going off long after the danger it was built for is gone. Flight. Flight is the urge to physically or emotionally escape a threat as fast as possible, and it doesn't always look like running away. Sometimes it looks like overworking, staying constantly busy, restlessly jumping from task to task, so there's never a quiet moment where old fear can catch up to you. Someone with a flight response might struggle to sit still, avoid conversations that feel emotionally heavy, or feel a surge of panic in situations that feel even slightly trapping. Elevators, small rooms, commitments that can't easily be undone. Their body has learned that stillness equals danger, so movement, distraction, and escape become the default setting. This response often gets praised on the surface. Flight-driven people can look ambitious, productive, endlessly active. But underneath, the constant motion isn't drive, it's avoidance. A nervous system that never learned it's allowed to stop moving long enough to actually feel something. Freeze. Freeze happens when your nervous system decides that neither fighting nor fleeing will work, so it shuts everything down instead. Your body goes still, your mind goes blank, and you might feel like you physically cannot move or speak, even though nothing is restraining you. This is the response behind people who go completely silent during conflict, who can't answer a simple question when put on the spot, who feel like their brain just stops working the moment things get tense. It's not indecision, it's not weakness. It's an ancient survival strategy, the same one that makes animals go still when a predator is near, because sometimes stillness was the only thing that kept a threat from noticing you. The frustrating part is freeze can look like you don't care, when really your body cared so much it overloaded and shut the whole system down, rather than let you fall apart in front of the threat. Fawn. Fawn is the trauma response built entirely around appeasing whoever holds power in the moment, prioritizing their comfort over your own safety or needs. A child who grew up with an unpredictable or volatile parent often learns that staying safe means staying agreeable, reading the room instantly, and doing whatever keeps the peace before conflict can even start. That pattern doesn't disappear in adulthood. It shows up as chronic people-pleasing, an inability to say no, apologizing for things that aren't your fault, and a persistent fear that someone's anger, even minor, means you're in danger. Fawning isn't kindness. It's a survival strategy wearing kindness as a disguise, one that trades your own needs for a sense of temporary safety. The hardest part of unlearning fawn responses is that the people around you often benefit from it, which means recovery requires disappointing people who got used to you never doing that. Flop. Flop is what happens when the body goes past freezing and into a full collapse, sometimes literally losing muscle tone, going limp, or feeling disconnected from physical sensation entirely. This is the nervous system's last resort, activated when fight, flight, and freeze have all failed to end the threat. It's the same mechanism seen in animals that play dead when capture feels inevitable, a biological gamble that stillness and unresponsiveness might be safer than any form of resistance. In humans, flop can show up as sudden exhaustion during overwhelming emotional conversations, fainting or near fainting during extreme stress, or a strange, numb heaviness that makes even standing up feel impossible. It's often misunderstood as laziness or overreacting, when it's actually one of the most extreme protective mechanisms the body has, reserved for moments when your nervous system has concluded that resistance itself has become too dangerous to attempt. Attach and befriend. Attach and befriend is a lesser-known trauma response, where, instead of fighting or fleeing a threat, you instinctively try to bond with it, hoping connection will create safety. This shows up in survivors who form strong emotional attachments to the very people who hurt them, not out of confusion, but because their nervous system learned that appeasing and connecting with a threat was historically safer than resisting it. It's part of why leaving abusive relationships is so much harder than outsiders assume. The bond isn't a sign of weak judgment. It's a deeply wired survival strategy, the same instinct that makes hostages sometimes form loyalty toward captors. Attach and befriend responses can also show up more subtly, gravitating toward emotionally unavailable or volatile people, because familiarity feels safer than the unknown, even when that familiar pattern is the exact thing causing harm. Hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is a nervous system that never fully powers down, constantly scanning for danger, even in objectively safe environments. Someone with this response might notice every shift in someone's tone, every microexpression, every slight change in mood in a room, not because they're paranoid, but because their body learned that missing a warning sign once had real consequences. This constant scanning is exhausting, both mentally and physically, because the body treats ordinary social situations with the same intensity it once needed for genuine danger. Small things get read as bigger threats than they are. A delayed text, a change in someone's tone, a distracted look, because the nervous system has been trained to treat uncertainty itself as dangerous. Hypervigilance often gets mistaken for anxiety alone, but underneath it is usually a body that's still guarding against a threat that isn't in the room anymore. Dissociation. Dissociation is your mind's way of creating distance from an experience that feels too overwhelming to fully be present for. It can look like zoning out during stressful conversations, feeling like you're watching your own life from outside your body, or losing time entirely, going through motions without any memory of doing them. In the moment trauma originally occurred, dissociation may have been the only escape available when physical escape wasn't possible, a way of leaving mentally when leaving physically wasn't an option. The trouble is, this coping mechanism doesn't stay confined to genuinely dangerous moments. It starts triggering during ordinary stress, arguments, deadlines, crowded rooms, pulling you out of your own life exactly when you need to be present in it. Dissociation isn't a lack of caring. It's often the opposite, a mind so overwhelmed by feeling that leaving felt like the only way to survive. Emotional numbing. Emotional numbing is when the nervous system decides the safest option is to stop feeling almost anything at all, dulling both pain and joy in order to avoid being overwhelmed. Someone with this response might feel like they're going through life behind glass, aware of what should be happy or sad moments, without actually feeling the emotional weight of either. It's not indifference, it's protection, a system that got so overloaded by pain in the past that it decided partial shutdown was safer than full exposure. This often frustrates the people closest to someone experiencing it, because affection, excitement, and grief all come out muted, which can look like not caring, when really it's the opposite. Numbing buys short-term relief from unbearable feelings, but the trade-off is steep, because you can't selectively numb pain. Turning down the volume on suffering turns down the volume on everything else too. Perfectionism. Perfectionism as a trauma response is the belief, often formed early, that being flawless is the only way to stay safe, loved, or in control. A child who only received approval when they achieved something, or who learned that mistakes led to punishment or withdrawal of love, often grows into an adult who treats every task like a test they can't afford to fail. Rest starts to feel dangerous. Good enough never feels like enough. Every mistake, even a small one, triggers a disproportionate wave of shame, because somewhere underneath, the nervous system still believes imperfection equals danger. This isn't ambition in the healthy sense. It's a body still trying to control an environment that once felt unsafe, using achievement as armor. The exhausting part is that no amount of success actually resolves it, because the fear was never really about the task. It was about what would happen if you weren't perfect enough to be safe. None of these responses mean you're broken or dramatic. They mean your body did exactly what it was built to do, adapt to danger using whatever tools were available at the time. The problem isn't that these responses once existed. It's that they often keep running long after the danger that created them is gone, treating an argument like a threat, a deadline like a crisis, a raised voice like a warning sign. Healing doesn't mean forcing these responses to disappear overnight. It means slowly teaching your nervous system what it never got the chance to learn, that not every room you walk into is one you have to survive.